Okay.
Welcome, welcome everyone to Girls Night Live. Happy Monday. We'll give you all a minute to get in here. Happy Monday, one of my favorite days of the week. We're just still letting some of you get in. So welcome to Girls Night Live. Today, we are coming to you live from Miami Beach, Florida, with a special guest, Sandy Root. Sandy is a Florida and New York State licensed acupuncturist with an additional certification in constitutional facial rejuvenation acupuncture. We are so thrilled to have her with us. I got to spend some time with her this morning. We're going to learn so much about acupuncture and acupressure. A very warm welcome to Sandy Root.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I'm excited to share about acupuncture with you, and whether you've had it before or have no idea. I know a lot of people have heard about it more these days. When I went to school, it was still one of these things that a lot of people, acupuncture, what's that? But I think most of us have at least heard of it now. Nowadays. And so I'm just going to go a little bit over the basics of it, how it works, what it can treat. And then we'll end with some other things about it. And then we'll do some acupressure. I'll teach you some points that you can do on yourself with pressure with your finger, just to calm stress and relieve anxiety, which are just great to know and be able to use throughout your day. And then, of course, you can ask questions throughout if you have any, and I'm happy to answer them. So, sorry, 1 second. Okay. So with acupuncture, we're using the fine needles, and I'll go into more about the needles later on, because I know there's a big fear of needles that I hear about a lot. But basically with acupuncture, we're working with what's called qi. You may have seen it before. It's spelled Qi. And there's no real translation for it from Chinese to English, but we a lot of times call it energy, or we can see it as like wind or air or gas. It's sort of like this wind that sets the sails on the ship. It's what moves us. It gives us that energy in our life, in our bodies. So there's 12 main meridians of these energy centers in our body. So they're like channels of energy. And I'll just show you a couple photos so you get an idea if you haven't seen them before. Just to get an idea of what the meridians look like. This is me with an acupuncture doll in my office. This is a 3-foot tall one, which they're rare now to find these tall ones. But here you can see some of the meridians on there, and each meridian has a different amount of points, and there's about 400 points overall on the whole body. Sorry, my screen is all over the place. And this gives an idea of the 12 meridians. So they're named after different organ systems in the body. So we have the lung, large intestine, stomach, spleen, heart, small intestine, bladder, kidney, the heart governor, which we call pericardium, triple heater, gallbladder, and liver. And so those are a general idea of what the meridians look like. So there are these channels of energy, and the points are very small. So we're using the fine needles to tap into these points. And when these needles enter the body, we're looking for making the channels have a smooth flow of this qi, Qi, the energy in the body. So when there's any disharmony in the body, there's either a deficiency of qi in a certain area, or there's too much qi. an example of too much chi being in the meridians is when there's pain. If you think about it, when there's a pain spot, say on the top of the shoulder, there's a lot of energy there. So there's a lot of chi there. So we're using the needle to get that energy to flow along the channel more smoothly. For example, I had a guy once who had a headache over here, and it happened to be on a gallbladder channel. And the gallbladder channel runs, it zigzags all across the head, down the sides of the body, all the way down to the pinky toe. I did one needle on his foot. His headache, which was pretty migraine-like, he was in a lot of pain. He couldn't move. He was spinning. He lay down. I put that one needle in. His headache was gone in a minute. So it just shows how powerfully just doing something along the channel to move something of excess through the channel to smooth that energy out along the channel. And there's been a lot of science studies now about acupuncture and what it's actually doing once it is inserted in the body. And it's shown to stimulate neurotransmitters and hormones. It's, our body's like an electromagnetic field. So it's also affecting every cell in the body when the needle's entered. It starts to send signals throughout the whole body and to the brain. And a lot of, there's showing where, say, like in a pain case, it's also sending endorphins to that area, which are our natural painkillers. And in cases where we're putting it on the face to stimulate blood flow, it's also been showing to boost collagen and elastin. So it's like the needle and the brain and the body know what to do to heal whatever's going on in that area. And it's pretty amazing. And it helps the body remember how to heal, which is hard these days, because if you think about our diets, our environment, the stressors in our life, it's easy for our energy to get off balance. So this is why acupuncture is important, because it helps to keep the body in balance. And anytime there's a disharmony, we're off balance, any symptom in the body, we can see it as an imbalance and put it back into balance. And this is also great why acupuncture is very much a prevention and wellness treatment as well. First time a lot of people come for pain or some other issue, but a lot of times they see the benefit over time of how it's affecting their other systems and start to come monthly just for maintenance to keep the body healthy going forward and keep everything in balance so that we can prevent things coming down the road. And so I'll show you some of the things that it can treat, because a lot of people think it only treats pain. And I get a lot of people who come for pain and then realize, oh, they get all these positive side benefits for sleep or digestion, all sorts of things. So it's great for all these other, sorry, my screen is a mess. So this is some of what acupuncture treats. So I'll just run through real quick. We have arthritis, headaches, which I mentioned before, migraines, common cold and flu, allergies, insomnia, infertility, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, health maintenance, stress, anxiety, depression. That's one thing as well. It's great for emotional issues. Each meridian is linked to a different emotion. For example, fear sits in the kidneys, anger sits in the liver. So we're able to move emotions as well with the acupuncture. Diarrhea, constipation, multiple sclerosis, PMS, menopause, which isn't on there, hypertension, weight loss, smoking cessation, and any sort of addictive disorders with alcohol or drugs are also. I'll list some others. IBS, Crohn's, immunity. It's great for boosting the immune system, improving circulation, and chemotherapy side effects is another great benefit. And then when we are treating patients, what to expect when you come to a session, if you haven't had before, is we do a consultation. We go through all the systems in your body. It's like if you're going to a regular doctor, you know, you're filling out the whole forms and everything that we can think of that we want to know about your system and your body, because everybody's different and we're treating you as an individual. And we treat by diagnosing also the pulse and the tongue are two of our major tools of diagnosis. So here we have the pulses. So on each wrist, we're feeling for 3 positions. We're ultimately feeling up to 12 to 18 different positions in the wrist pulse. And each position, as you can see on this picture, corresponds to a different organ, which is the channel of energy. So like I said in the beginning, each meridian or channel has a name of an organ: heart, liver, kidney. So on each pulse position, we can feel the quality, the depth, whether it's weak, it's full, it's fast, it's slow. We have different qualities. We feel like wiry, slippery, short. There's dozens of different names of pulses that we learn to be able to describe the feeling, and based on how we're feeling that pulse is how we come up with a diagnosis. And it's very involved, the pulse diagnosis, and it's like an art, and I'm still learning it. It's always a learning experience because it's very involved, and it's amazing because a lot of times I have a new patient and I can feel their pulse and say, "You're not sleeping well." And they're like, "How do you know?" You can feel it in the pulse. Or, "Oh, you just ate lunch, didn't you?" And they're like, "Yeah," because their stomach pulse is like boom, 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 you know. So it's pretty cool what you can feel in the pulse. And a lot of people think I'm psychic. And I'm like, no, it's just in the pulse. And then we have just the last screen picture I'll share, since this is such a mess, is a tongue, the tongue diagnosis. So we're also diagnosed by the tongue. And as you can see on the right side here, each area of the tongue corresponds to a different organ system in the body. So on the sides, we have the liver, gallbladder, the tip is the heart, and the lungs are towards the tip there too. Stomach and spleen are in the center, and then the kidneys and bladder are in the rear of the tongue. So we look to look at the tongue, and as this example here is showing where the heart at the tip of the tongue. So if there is a red tip, I tend to say, "Oh, okay, are you anxious? Are you not sleeping well?" Because the tip will get red in those cases. So each organ system has certain functions that they do in the body. If say the sides are really red on the tongue associated with the liver, they could be really angry. They could just be super stressed out, overworking. And then of course, the emotions in Chinese medicine are very linked to the physical as well. Our emotions cause the physical ailments, or the physical ailments can cause these emotions. And sometimes we look for also on the tongue, like any cracks, any markings, the thickness of it, the width. A lot of people have like the teeth marks on the side, and that's actually we call dampness in the body, which is associated with spleen and stomach. So we can diagnose by all these things. And if there's, say, like cracks in the front here towards the lungs, they may have some lung issue, maybe emphysema, you know. So there's so many examples you can go into, and you just ask questions based on their tongue too, like, okay, and you, between the tongue, the pulse, and the consultation and getting a feel for them, we also look at their face. There's ways to diagnose based on the face, where things, colors and markings on the face. By palpation on the body, a lot of times we can feel where there's deficiencies or excess by palpating certain parts of the body, or a lot in the belly area. Palpating in there, we can diagnose as well many things. I'll stop for questions before I go on, if there's any for now, and then we'll move on with some more.
We do have some great questions, Sandy. Hopefully you can hear me here. They are in the chat, and I'm happy to read them off to you because they're fantastic. We had Sarah from Instagram asking, does acupuncture hurt?
That is a good question, and that's probably one of the most popular questions I get. Because a lot of times when I tell people I'm an acupuncturist, their first thing is like, I'm afraid of needles. But I'll show you. I did have a needle here to show if it's showable on here, but they're very thin. The needles are hair thin. So they're definitely not like the hypodermic needle at the doctor. This is, for example, one that may go in the face, very thin. So you can see like next to my finger, it's like you can flick it, it's so thin. And this is one that would go more in the body, because we can go a little bit deeper depending where on the body the needle's going. But as you can see, they're so thin, they bend. A lot of times when they're going in, you don't feel them at all. If you feel them, it's like a little pinch and like a mosquito bite. And once they're in, you may feel some pressure, you may feel tingling. All not bad sensations. They're just, that's the sensation of the energy coming to the area and doing its work. But it's not painful. Most people are shocked to realize once they come, they're relaxed and they leave on cloud nine. So
that's a good place to leave. All right, we have Amanda from Facebook. She's asking, is acupuncture similar to chiropractic, and do they do the same things?
That's a good question. Well, chiropractic is more, they're like aligning the body, you know. I don't know if they're not working with the channels of energy in the same way. I think maybe some forms of chiropractic work on, I forget what it's called, maybe network chiropractic work more with energy, but they don't work with meridians in the way that acupuncture does. And I think chiropractor, a lot of people do both together. I'm often recommending people to chiropractor because I can work on the muscles, I can't realign the spine. So in combination together, they work really great together. If someone has injuries, they're really great to do in combo.
We do have Michelle on here. She's asking specifically if acupuncture helps with knee pain.
Yes. Yeah, I have a few people with knee pain. I actually had one woman recently. She was hit walking across the street by a car, and she had to have surgery on her knee. And through her recovery, I think she just wrote an email last week like, I don't know, that was magic, whatever happened, because the next day she was walking. She actually injured herself again a couple days later crossing the road, but she was so like, I can't believe my knee. She was in a lot of pain and limping. So yes, it helps all sorts of pain, you name it.
So I'm going to jump from a couple of different questions because we have actually quite a few in here, but this kind of ties with that. Does acupuncture, this is Lisa from Facebook, does acupuncture always give you immediate relief, or does it sometimes take multiple visits?
That's a great question. It depends on what we're working on. Most people will see some improvement with one treatment, but if it's good to have a few weekly treatments. If it's an acute case, I recommend usually around 5 or 6 weekly treatments, just because there's a cumulative effect to each treatment. So by the time you're done with the 6 weekly treatments, it's like fully resolved. If we're working with something more chronic, I recommend 10 to 12 treatments, and then after that, monthly maintenance. But sometimes people come in, they come for one treatment and they're fine, and they're like, okay, and I see them a few months later again if they need it again. So it depends on the person and what we're working on.
All right, so here is one. Does it help with pre-menopause? These hot flashes or something else?
Oh yes, definitely. Woo child, I see the question. Yes, it's great. It's great for, I treat a lot of women for women's health. Acupuncture is amazing. One thing that a lot of women don't know is we don't need to feel PMS symptoms. It doesn't need to be a thing. A smooth flowing energy in the body. We don't have PMS. We don't have cramps. So that's something that acupuncture can help even out. With most women I work with, I just automatically add points for balancing hormones, just because, you know, we're always, every month we're going through the cycles. So, and then it helps with premenopausal. I get a lot of women going through menopause. It helps with menopause symptoms. It's great for menopause symptoms. Yeah.
And how often would you recommend having treatment for that, or is it individual basis?
Individual, but I'd say probably weekly for a few weeks just to get things balanced. And then if we're good, come monthly. A lot of women who are trying to regulate their cycles, say they came off the pill, it's good to do a couple, at least 2 to 3 cycles weekly treatments, and then come monthly after that, or seasonally. Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you see these questions, or do you want me to keep reading them to you? I'm happy to do it.
Now, yeah, since
I didn't know if you could see them, so I'm happy to.
Yeah. Let's see.
Next, we would have.
How does acupuncture help with stress and anxiety? Okay, yes. Acupuncture helping with stress and anxiety. As I mentioned, acupuncture is great for emotions. Actually, on my Instagram page at Acupuncture Root, one of my bullet points there is emotional release. I love working with emotions. A lot of people will come on their, leave their treatment having had a release. And people feel bad sometimes, like I was crying during the session. I'm like, that's great, because that is a movement of energy. That's a release. There was a guy who hadn't cried since he was a kid, and he's in his mid-20s, and he's like, I cried, it was great. And so it's really, like I showed in the beginning, the organ systems are also related to different emotions. So the kidney holds fear. The liver holds anger, the heart holds joy, but it can also hold stress. So based on what I'm seeing in the diagnosis and your consultation, we'll treat that organ system, and that'll help the emotional aspect of it as well. That's how it does that. And there's just points that are amazing for stress, like just right here between the eyebrows, you can just give that a good little rub every couple hours during the day. That's just one of these points. Also for new people, I do, if they're really nervous, if they're very nervous about the needles, I'll do this first, and they're zened out. Okay. Is reflexology and acupressure similar? Yes, acupressure is the same. It's just you're not using needles. Acupressure is, like I showed you, you just someone would press or massage on the points for a minute or two. Reflexology it's not based off of Chinese medicine. Acupuncture is from Chinese medicine. I'm not actually sure the origins of reflexology. Maybe it is Chinese actually too, but it's not related to the meridians in the way acupuncture is. I know there's different organs and stuff you can touch on the bottom of the foot, but I'm not familiar with it too much to say, but it's not something we learn with acupuncture. And does insurance cover treatments? Awesome question. More and more, yes. There's some insurance companies that do cover it, and it depends on your plan. And yeah, you can always call your insurance and see if it's covered. Some of them have a limit per year, some have unlimited. And yeah, if you have insurance, you can, when you call an acupuncturist, ask if they take that insurance. And if not, a lot of them provide a super bill that you could submit to your insurance, which is what I do. And then, awesome. Is acupuncture related to tapping? Good question. I was actually going to share, there's a point if you all want to try, it's a channel called the Ren channel. There's actually 8 extraordinary meridians, which are not the main 12, that do a whole other set of things. But there's a channel that runs straight down the front, central line of the body. And right between in here, it would be in line with your nipples pretty much. You can just tap here. You can do acupressure there, just give a little massage, circular massage. But a lot of times I say like to just tap here, because they do that similar, and as this question says about tapping, you're tapping along meridian lines when you're doing tapping. So it is similar in that it's the tapping is working with the acupuncture meridians, but it's very limited, I guess, compared to what acupuncture does overall with health and physical ailments. And then Phyllis, hello from Facebook. How is acupuncture used cosmetically? Is one of my other things to talk about. I'm actually going to share one more of my messy screens here. Cosmetic benefits. So it's amazing. I love this because you can see results as soon as it pops up off the table. They're glowing, and you can see, and fine lines have eliminated, diminishing larger wrinkles, reduces double chin and drooping eyelids. So it does have a lifting effect. I do a lot of work under the chin, and these, a lot of my patients call it the jowls over here, lifting these. It improves collagen production and muscle tone. So where there is sagging, it helps those muscles strengthen. Where there's the fine lines, it's just overuse of the muscles. So the needles are actually helping to relax those muscles that we use over and over and over. It tightens the pores, brightens the eyes, improves acne. It's also great for any discolorations on the face. It can help clear those up. It promotes blood and lymph circulation, and much more positive side effects because the meridians that run through the face run throughout the whole body. So that's one great thing with acupuncture as well, is when we're treating something else, many people end up having positive side effects. Someone may come for shoulder, neck pain, and then they come back next sleep. By the way, I'm sleeping better. And I'm like, oh yeah, because acupuncture does that. It works on all the things, even if we're not focusing on sleep. A lot of people end up sleeping better and not even realizing that they were sleeping bad. Another great thing that I wanted to mention is that we can treat multiple things at once. We, of course, focus on your main complaints. For example, if you're coming in with knee pain, that'll be our main focus. But if there's a digestive issue at the same time, or a sleep, or there's anxiety, we can incorporate those into the treatment. So it's nice because we can attack more than one thing at a time with acupuncture. And are there any other questions at the moment? And I don't know if you saw on the last one I showed, my tagline is getting to the root of it, because we are getting actually to the root. And I happen to be blessed with a good last name in this life for my practice, Root Acupuncture. Because a lot of times, we're going to the doctor and they may be giving us something that covers up the symptoms, but it's not actually getting to what's really going on underneath it all. And that's what acupuncture does. It really gets to the root of the problem rather than just covering symptoms and not dealing with it. It really, we find where is this actually coming from, and how do we get to the root of it and clear it out? Because even with the diagnosis that we come up with, there can be so many levels on. We're working on most of the meridians in every treatment, because one meridian having a problem affects another meridian, because they're paired, they have pairs, they have complementary meridians. So it's very involved, and it's that's why I love it. It's a lifelong learning kind of medicine, and it's amazing. Let's see. Yes, that will bring us to the next segment, Kathy, real quick. Could you possibly show us a little acupressure for stress headache we could do in a pinch? And that's actually one of the ones I wanted to show you for acupressure. This is one of the ones I show most everybody, is between the thumb and first finger. This is a great one for headaches. So you can just give it a good squeeze. I like to use both sides, and you can feel a lot of times if you have a headache that's very tense, and if it's very tender, just get in there, dig. Even if it's painful, it's going to release. And you can rub each hand for about a minute or two and just give a little pressure in there. And if you have like a tension headache in the head or the forehead, this one, the calming point between the eyebrows, is really nice. Again, and there's one on right on top of the head. It's actually a very calming and stress relieving point, but it also, if you're fatigued in the afternoon, it can give you a lift, a boost of energy. So it's like a calming boost of energy. And I like to tap that one. And you can just give it a tap for a minute or two. And another great one for stress relief that is good in combo with this one. And it's similar. I can't show you on the video, but it's between the big toe and the second toe in the skin like that. You can press in there, and that's a liver point. It's really good for stress relief, anger, and so it's a good hangover point. That's known as the hangover point. So if you have a hangover, dig between the big toe and the second toe. A lot of my friends liked that one in the past when we were partying. We don't do that anymore. So those were the acupressure points I wanted to share that you can do for stress relief. And yeah, if there's not any other questions, I wanted to show a couple other pictures of meridians real quick. I forgot I have my book here. This is a book if you are interested in Chinese medicine and acupuncture. When I was looking for what did I want to really do after years of bartending, waitressing, and working in offices, I knew I wanted to do something else. And this was a book that really turned me on to Chinese medicine and acupuncture. It's called The Web That Has No Weaver. And it's great for lay people, or even if you don't want to go to school for it, just to know more about it. This is a great book. It explains so much. But this shows some of the meridians. This is the lung. As you can see, it doesn't actually start in the lungs. It starts over here, and then it goes down to the thumb. So some of the meridians are short. And then you have like the stomach, which goes all from the head, from right under the eyeball. And then it goes all the way down to the second toe. So, and the bladder goes along the back side, all the way from, it actually starts in the front on the eye, the inner eye, and goes all the way around to the back. And there's one more I want to show you. That's a fun channel, the gallbladder, because it's a very zigzaggy. It's the only channel that sort of goes a little crazy. You can see it's on the face, and it just goes behind the ear, then it comes up back front, then it comes back again, and then it sort of zigzags along the side of the body. And each meridian has sort of like a theme to it. And gallbladder is about making decisions. And this zigzaggy thing, it's like moving forward, like where are you zigzagging? And if it's off, you're very zigzaggy. And it's sort of like this gives you direction when this meridian's balanced. And so each meridian has like a poetic theme to it as well. Any areas we can press to help sleep? From Margaret. Yes, I can't really show you, but when you're in bed, before bed, you can sort of under the skull bone here, the occiput, you can dig your fingers. You can even just lay in your pillow with your thumbs, like just digging into the back of the neck there, and just find where it feels tender to you. You can just go across and see where the most tender spot is, and then just give it a press there for a minute or two. That can really help to release the mind if it's, mind thoughts that are going too much, but it's also a lot of times it's just tension from the day, and the neck, just releasing the neck is really helpful for sleep. Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming. I don't see any other questions. And again,
Sandy, we've dropped some of your links in the chat there, so people can definitely connect, but why don't you tell us where we can find more information from you?
Yes, to connect with me and check out my website, that's root-acupuncture.com. And then you can find me on Instagram. I'm pretty active on Instagram. I love it. So you can always direct message me there if you have any further questions or like any more info. I'm very happy to share acupuncture. I love getting your questions. So that's at Acupuncture Root. It's my Instagram. And then I'm on Facebook, Root Acu, ROOTACU.
Well, we thank you so much for being a part of Girls Night Live. This was wonderful, incredible information. I think we'll all be sitting, hitting the pressure points and tapping the rest of the day. I know lots of people are giving thank yous.